Go.
All right, we're going to do the lecture portion of the Fire Behavior Lab. It's coming in May. It'll be here 13th, 14th, and 15th, I believe. Normally we do the lecture the day of the burns, but with the department and how busy we are, Lieutenant Whip and myself kind of talked about it a little bit. Figured we'd just do the lecture on a day off, get it taped, get it sent out to other companies so they can watch it at their leisure as a company if they want to. And then when the trailer comes, all we got to do is the burns, and you guys will be in and out of there pretty quick. All right. They are backfilling for the burns, so you guys do have that that you'll be out of service for those burns. So normally runs about an hour, hour and a half, depending on discussion. All right. You guys don't want to hear me talk for the hour and a half. I'm telling you, you don't want to hear it, especially after lunch. So the more group discussion we have, the better that the class will go. This class is given all over the state, and it's from anywhere from 36-hour to level 2, so it's pretty basic. So, you know, Captain Bowen, Corey, some guys have been here for a while, may have remembered a little bit about this. Zach's been in a recent class, so it's going to be reviewed for you guys a little bit, but some of the newer guys who have not seen this, it's going to be some new stuff, but it's also going to be reviewed. All right. 2017 was the last time the Fire Behavior Lab was here, so we're definitely due for it. All right. I know Captain Rupp does a pretty good job with our trailer doing fire behavior stuff, so this is nothing new. But like I said, 2017 was the last time I was here. So some objectives that we're going to talk about: characterize flashover, rapid fire development, and flow path. We're going to review the importance of PPE and why it's important that we wear our PPE at all times. We'll discuss situational awareness as it pertains to rapid fire development and flow path. What's situational awareness?
Yeah. Knowing what's around you.
Knowing your surroundings, all right? Keeping your head on a swivel at all times, all right? Not getting zoned in on something. We'll review basic tactical decisions on the fire ground. A little bit of reading smoke stuff. Has anybody been to a reading smoke class or seen that stuff online? Very, very good stuff. Dave Dodson was the master of reading smoke. I've seen his program at FDIC. He's moved along. He's passed it off to another guy. I believe his name is Jose or Josie or something, however you pronounce it, out in California maybe.
Yeah, Jose something.
Yeah, go online, all that stuff's online. It's really good stuff. We'll review the importance of proper water application. All right, we used to talk about the O's and the T's and the Z's, right? Well, now they talk about the upside down U or the N, however you want to classify it. That way you're getting both walls really well and across the ceiling to cool the entire compartment as you're moving forward. Anybody heard the term flow and move or flow and go? All right. Back in our day, they talked about not putting the water stream up towards the ceiling because we were going to do what? Disrupt the thermal layering. All right. Okay. All that smoke is fuel, so we got to cool that as we move. So if you're pushing down a hallway underneath all that black smoke, guess what? There's probably fire above you. You need to be cooling as you're moving down that hallway. Don't wait till you get to that room and contents fire. Anybody know what that is? I know some people do. National Fire Academy, the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial in Emmitsburg, Maryland. All right. Going out there in May. A couple of us go out every year. We do a family escort for the Fallen Firefighter Memorial Weekend. We get a chance to spend some time with a family who has lost a loved one in the line of duty over the past year. It's a very humbling experience. I don't want to see anybody's name, memorialized there ever, and that's why we do these things. All right, that's why we got to train for this stuff. So it's a great place to go to take classes when classes are back up in session. Unfortunately, they're not right now. Hopefully, they'll be back soon. But if you ever get a chance, go out there. Highly recommend. Take classes. They're free. All right. You might have to pay for some food.
Food is all you got to pay for,
Yeah.
and if you put a travel training request in, the division will pay for it.
Yep. Very good place to go. So I highly recommend it. If you get a chance to go out there, head on out there and see the memorial. All right. So on the left, we have number of fires from the years 1977 to 2021, and on the right is the number of firefighter deaths from 77 to 23. So we got a pretty good decrease on this left-hand side of fires annually, right? It's slowly decreasing, but on the other side, we've always maintained that level that we're killing firefighters, all right? I think it's three firefighters per 100,000 fires, all right? The number of fires have actually fallen, but we're killing the same amount of firefighters. Well, why is that? Why do things like that happen? We're not fighting as many fires, but we're still killing the same amount of people. What are some reasons? Building construction.
Materials.
Change of building construction. Materials, right? Eli, you got kids. What's packed in your house with your kids? What do they have? Toys. What are
Furniture, toys.
all synthetics, right? Not like they were back in when Captain Bowen was a kid. Not the toys that he played with. Me too. I'm right there with you.
Practice, we're not getting as much practice.
We're not getting the reps, right? So if these guys aren't getting any reps at 1 and 2 years on the job, they turn around and they promote. So what happens when they promote? They don't have a whole lot of experience, right? So decisions are made with little to no experience. Plus, what do we do with our new guys as soon as they get on the job? Well, not as soon as they get on the job, but as soon as they get that magical certification, what do we do with them?
Throw them on the box.
Throw them on the box, right? Put them on the box. Got to put them on the box. So just some things like we talked about. Do we recognize the situations we encounter and the potential outcome? That kind of goes along down here, okay? Do we understand flashover and rapid fire growth? Again, that goes with training. It goes with experience. Our homes are larger, different construction, and we got cathedral ceilings in here. More rooms, more square footage, and we just shove furniture and everything we can in those rooms, right? The bigger the house, the more stuff we got. Our fire grant decisions at all levels affecting potential outcomes. So not just at the company level, but on up. Okay? Again, training and reps, two big reasons. Recognize the need for situational awareness, how it applies to our PPE. Why do we need to be situationally aware about our PPE?
What keeps you out of the environment?
How much can it absorb, right? You know, are we saturating our PPE before we even get to where we're going, right? That's a bad thing. Chief, what did we used to do in the burn building if you were the burn officer? What did we used to do in there?
You stayed in there the entire time.
You stayed in there the entire time.
It was soaked.
Yep. You got
So the
saturated.
heat.
Not good for us, right? What else about our PPE we got to be situationally aware to? Are we wearing it? All right. My guys out of Ford's have been doing line of duty desk stuff on Sundays, and I know a couple of them that we've done comes back to people weren't even wearing PPE or weren't wearing the PPE correctly. So we got to make sure that we're wearing that PPE and we're putting it on correctly. So aggressive versus reckless, is there a difference? Yeah, we all want to be aggressive, right? We just don't want to get to that point where we're reckless. How about freelancing? Reckless, all right? Going off by yourself, reckless.
Why do most people freelance?
So I think they're helping.
They think they're helping and they haven't got something to do. Everyone needs to have a job and stick to that job because, oh, I'll just go do this one little thing here, and that's how guys get hurt. They wander off on their own. Not meaning to do anything wrong, they're just trying to help.
Absolutely, it's kind of like what they talked about in the blue card the other day, right? We're all type A personalities. We want to get in there and do something. If we're not given a task, we're basically making one up to go do it. So that's what we want to do. Size up on our changing buildings. We got all sorts of buildings in this town now, right? Everything from older balloon construction to now all of our lightweight construction homes out on the east side of town. So we got to be aware of that. What else about our old homes? They may be rehabbed. You may see a construction from the street. You get inside, and it's a totally different construction than what you anticipated when you get inside there. So don't be shocked if you do see that. Door control. Why is door control big? What's that do?
Control the flow path.
Control the flow path, right? If you do your 360 and you go around to the trolley side of the building and the back door's open, what can we do to help ourselves?
Close
Close
it.
it. All right, close the door, shut off the flow path. Same thing with the front door. Coordinated attack. What do we got to coordinate our attack with?
Ventilation.
Our ventilation, search, all right? It's good to do those things, but we got to make sure that they're in coordination with each other. We vent too soon before the hand line's ready. Instead of helping things, we may have just made it worse. So we just got to make sure that everything's coordinated. Risk versus benefit. Everybody, I'm sure everybody's heard that term, risk versus benefit. Risk a lot to save a lot, risk a little to save a little, all right? You guys heard the term, the low frequency, low frequency,
High risk.
high risk, low frequency?
High risk event.
Yeah, high risk, low frequency events, or low frequency, high risk, high frequency, low risk?
It's the high frequency versus the risk. And a high frequency, a high risk, low frequency event is the most dangerous because we're not prepared for that.
Yep.
The low frequency, low risk event is like, hey, no big deal. We can handle it, and if it goes wrong, who gives a shit?
Yep, Gordon Graham, right?
Gordon Graham's
Graham's
Gordon Graham's the one
Yep.
who pioneered that. So we're gonna really train on these high risk, low frequency events.
The big box fires. Again, go back to Blue Card the other day.
Mhm.
Why do we get so many people hurt in the big box fires?
Not the normal house fire that we usually
Because
fight.
we try to fight them just like they are a normal house fire, and we just can't do that, right? You
Which our
can't do that.
submergence time, you know, what we said every time those blue card drills, we were 175, 200 feet in the building.
Yep,
You're not just gonna turn and walk back out like you are in a house fire.
sure, absolutely. Safety and the safety of your crew. All right, is anybody able to see that very well? And it's probably hard to see. How many people they got up on that roof?
Way too many.
Way too many, all right? Okay, they got a roof ladder up there, so good for them,
Mhm.
right?
Only one guy's on it, or two guys are on it.
What do we already see up here?
Flames to the roof.
Venting,
It's venting already, right? So what do we got underneath them?
like fire,
A working fire, right? Is there any reason for them to be up there?
0.
Aggressive or reckless?
Reckless.
Reckless. Maybe it was meant to be aggressive in the first place with rooftop ventilation, but it ended up being a reckless situation, right? If you're gonna go through the roof to cut a hole and get off of it, all right? Is your strategy correct, and is it okay to switch strategies?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, I'm right with you. It's okay to switch strategies, but when we do that, what do we gotta make sure we do?
Communicate.
Everybody
Communicate. Everybody's gotta know on the fire ground. I hate using still pictures, man, because it just doesn't tell the whole story. Talks about a little bit about risk versus benefit here. What do we know about the building just by kind of looking at it? Just by the building itself.
What type is it?
Row house, right?
Mhm.
Probably in Baltimore.
It's probably, what construction?
3.
Type 3,
I would-
ordinary construction.
Yep, agree. Looks like it's a different, it's got different bricks on either side, so it's separated,
Mhm.
all right? And then see the smaller windows, smaller, thin, taller windows, not what they would normally put in a residence today, right? So, got somebody in there, you can see his flashlight right there. I don't know what it was like a minute ago, but what do we got going on in that room now?
It's getting ready to light off.
Yep, looks like it already has over here, right?
Yep.
And it's moving towards where he's at. Like I said, I'm not sure exact reason he was in there or what the issue was, but now look at it chasing him out the window.
Yep.
You know, maybe he got a report that there was somebody up there. They were doing a VEIS procedure. He recognized the situation and bailed out. All right. Captain Bowen does the ladder bails at 8s. We do them quite often. Those are great things to learn. Great tool for your toolbox. You know, try to learn the situation, the change, and what's going on, and maybe get yourself removed before it comes to that. All right. YouTube. Just try to understand the change in conditions. Maybe get out a little bit quicker than that. Like I said, I'm not sure what the situation was, but he had to use the ladder bail for it. So I talk a little bit about PPE now. And I had this talk with Lieutenant Levins the other day. When you guys get your PPE, what do you guys do with it? First thing you guys do with it?
Try it on.
Rub some mud on it.
Rub some mud on it. Gatorade. Take it out of the bag, and then what do you cut off of it?
Tags.
All the time.
The tag. Anybody look at them? Anybody just throw them away, or they keep them, or what do you guys do with them? I'm gonna tell myself I've never looked at them. Right? Why is it important to look at those tags?
Gives you all kinds of
Rating.
stats, what it's made of, what its capabilities are.
What it's made of, what the TPP rating is for it, what the THL rating. Do you guys know what those are? Thermal I know I was gonna mess this one up. Thermal, I even kept it on my phone because I knew I was gonna mess it up. Thermal protective performance, right? That tells you how it's going to deflect the heat or how it's gonna respond in that situation. Then there's also the THL, which is the total heat loss rating, which is the flexibility, the breathability of the product, all right? So for example, just throwing a number out there, I think the minimum for your PP is 35 on the TPP, all right? And what that tells you is that in a flash situation, you have 17.5 seconds before you suffer second-degree burns. That's what that rating's telling you. And that's not inside the situation, right? That's in a lab and a test situation, right? So, and what happens between the TPP and the THL, it's not you can have your cake and eat it too. If one goes up, the other one goes down. And most of the time, the TPP is what gets increased, so you lose your breathability and your flexibility of your turnout gear to increase the other. So, I'm not a PPP expert by any means, but like I said, I'll tell myself I don't normally read those tags either, but I'm gonna start with my next set. So it's important. We knew the 1011s does a good job with getting our stuff clean, getting them inspected, so we trust in him with that. But we got to know a little bit more about our PP, all right? Because it does matter. So a little bit of temperature here with how it rates on you. Okay, 111 degrees, you start to feel pain. All the way down to 446 degrees is the melting point of polycarbonate. Why is that important?
Your face piece starts melting off.
That's when your face piece starts melting away. All right, at 446 degrees, those are your high temperature. That's if you have the high temperature face pieces. All right, which we do. They're supposedly rated for 500 degrees, right around there. I think the older ones were 300. So that's when they're going to start giving away. Anybody seen the firefighters that were caught in the flash over in Houston not too long ago? All right, did you see their PPE after it was over with? How could they survive that if their face pieces were? You saw the rest of their PPE. You figured their face pieces were gone, but what kept those face pieces intact? Anybody know? Did you read the story about it? They were trained to cover their face piece in their elbow, so they were actually protecting their face piece when they dove into the quarter when the flash was happening. So that's the only reason their face piece didn't give away. It was protected. So our PPE provides excellent thermal protection, right? Sometimes too good. We're fully encapsulated. We don't feel anything until we get possibly too far. So we gotta be situationally aware on what's going on with our PPE and if we're becoming saturated. Again, your face piece is your weakest part. In the fire behavior lab, you probably do about 250 degrees, 300 degrees at face or head level. All right, it'll be 1100 to 1200 degrees in the ceiling in the chamber is what we'll have that up to. So, what do you think some of the signs are when your face pieces is starting to give? When it's starting to degrade? What are some symptoms or signs that you should see?
Discoloration of the mask.
Okay, so spidering or
Crazing.
All right. Starting to smell plastic a little bit when it gets heated up.
Metal tabs get hot as shit.
Yep. What's the first thing we do when our face piece gets fogged up?
Wipe it.
Go to wipe it, right? So when our face piece starts doing that, and we go to wipe it, what do we just do with that face piece? Yep. This is a direct heat impingement on a face piece, so it kind of shows you a little bit of what happens when that face piece starts to give away.
Like, can you turn off the lights?
Yeah. That good enough? You want more?
No, it's better.
That better? See there? I just want to rub it across the face piece to get rid of that fogging is what I would think it is, and you're going to create the hole in it. You'll see it here in just a second. So that's on one of those breathable heads. You can see it actually breathing the face piece. we see one breath of that, right, we're done. A little video that talks about PPE and about those guys that wanted to sit in the burn room for 5 minutes and what they take on with the saturation.
This is why I'm so passionate about the thermal environment. This is what we can't see that's occurring to us, and we're well protected. The victim doesn't have that luxury. They're feeling pain at 109 to 109 to 113, and 131 degrees, they're burning just like we are. Their property starts to break down at 200 degrees, producing flammable
What is
vapors.
PPE starting to get
My
saturated?
gear is breaking down between 165, your bottle, to upwards of 572 to 600 degrees max. Do you want to push it that far, or would you rather be intelligently aggressive and use the nozzle and cool the environment long before it gets there and make it better for the victim, their life, their property, and you? Not asking you not to go in the fire. All of us signed up to go in there. But when you go in, make it better and protect those that you swore to do so, right? So let me challenge you with this. How well are we protected are we again? He's just going over to close a window. Look at his shoulders. In just a few seconds, look at his face piece, his mask, his helmet. He's gonna get down, because look at this. This is straw and pallets. This is not couches. This is not sectionals and wardrobes and massive amounts of heat release rate that we normally face. See the backside of his hood behind his helmet? That was the guy who went open the window. Look at the thermal layer we were taught not to disturb. Brother Jimmy and I and everybody else understands that if that gets below 50%, that's a broiler, that's heating everybody up in the room. It's not good. That's cooking everything in its path, including the victim, the contents, and us, with the high-dollar gear that we bought to protect us. So, question and answer time. When was the last time your gear and SCBA was inspected, all 3 layers and face piece? When was the last time your PPE was washed, very wet, UV damaged gear? You know what that does now. And have any of you read the instructions on your turnout gear, and will you now? And if you don't have a program that includes gear inspection, cleaning, and cancer prevention, it's up to you to implement it. So how many of you have inspected your gear recently?
I think we do a pretty good job with that, right? Lieutenant Blevins has our gear in the system. We get it inspected and cleaned annually, right? As everybody's starting to clean their gear more now that they got a second set of turnout gear, all right? That makes a huge difference, having a second set back at the station that you can get your front line clean. And he'll also wash your gear for you if you need it, right? If you've been to a fire, you send him an email, just say, yeah, I'll wash it, bring it down here and drop it off, I'll take care of it, and he'll even put it back together and get it back to you. So I think we do a pretty good job with that. So if you don't take advantage of that, start taking advantage of it. It's worth it. So discuss size up and strategy a little bit. All right, so when does a size up start on the building?
Phone call,
Phone call
dispatch.
from the dispatch? Can we go any earlier than that?
Pre-planned.
Some pre-plans, right? Yeah, you're probably gonna have that with more along the lines of commercial structures, or maybe those homes that are difficult to get to, that you might have to do a garden lay to. You know, I'm thinking Belmont and on Home Road, just before Home Road, the houses that sit back across the bridges that we can't get a truck back. So, you know, pre-planning those areas, right? Size up, evaluate, and communicate any risk before TAC, all right? A good size up, we're gonna communicate that to everybody before we make our TAC. 2 strategies, offensive and defensive, all right? Transition is an offensive strategy. We've been doing transition for a long time here. It just got a name and somebody made money off of it, all right? If we got too much fire to make entry, we hit it from the outside before we go in. Just did it on Euclid. We do it all the time. Do not risk a life to save property, a firefighter's life to save property. They took portions of this lesson out, but they had a house that was under construction in one of the wealthy suburbs around Columbus. And it was pretty well near construction, but when you showed up, you could still tell that it was under construction. They had some rags that had oil on them from doing work the day before down in the basement. They combusted and started a fire in the basement. Fire department showed up, couldn't hardly see the fire from the front, but a 360 showed that it had a basement fire and it was going up the back of the house. Nobody was there, nobody was living there, the house was still under construction, and they got 4 or 5 guys injured, all right, just by making their attack on that structure, right? And then like a week later, guess what happened?
Wrecking ball.
It was a wrecking ball, right? And the owner even said, I can't believe that you guys risked your lives for stucco. I mean, you knew nobody was in here, and you risked your lives for stucco. So, I mean, that's just one example, right? I'm not saying not to be aggressive or to not make entry, guys. That's not my point at all. We're aggressive here, and that's why we all come to this department, because we know we're gonna be busy, but sometimes you just gotta think, right? I definitely don't wanna be the person to speak to someone's wives and tell them that one of you guys aren't coming home because, because you were too worried about saving a piece of property that no one was in, all right? So, some size up factors. We already talked about changing buildings, right? We've gone from balloon frame to lightweight construction, all right? Everyone at 2x4 was a true 2x4, all right? Not that way anymore, all right? What are roofs held together with? Gusset plates, right? How far is that gusset plate into the lumber?
1/8 inch.
Yeah, like barely, right? And once that thing gives, what's gonna happen to the rest of that truss?
Any point fails, it all fails.
There you go. Any point fails, it all fails. So less mass of that lumber equals less time. On a modern day structure, what's the time from start of fire to flashover on average, according to NIST and UL with their studies? If anybody's seen those videos.
It's a couple minutes.
Yeah, I think it's like 5 or 6,
Yeah,
somewhere in there,
not even that.
compared to like 30 minutes from the legacy. So what's happening in like 5 or 6 minutes?
Growth.
What's that?
Growth.
Growth, okay, growth over 5 to 6 minutes. It goes vent limited, probably. And then what happens at that 5 or 6 minute mark?
We open the door.
We open the door, right? And what did we just do?
Air introduction.
Yeah, introduce that flow path, all right? It's a synthetic society like we talked about. Increase of plastics and synthetics in what we're putting in our homes. It's not the old materials that we're used to. These are just some pictures of some of the changing buildings out there. Like I said earlier, once you show up on scene, you do your 360, don't be surprised if you get inside the building and it's a different construction than what the outside is, or you have built up roof on top of roof, all right? Shed roof's a big one here in Springfield, so everybody should know what a shed roof is and an E-wall. If you don't, ask someone, all right, because that's kind of our bread and butter. I know when Chief Sprinkle was here, that was his bread and butter. I mean, we did it all the time. First line went to the fire, second line went where? The D-wall. Yeah, it was almost every day. Anybody seen this building over here? I had to look it up a little bit. That's called what they say, a ply scraper. All right, 18 floors, mostly wood on a high rise. It's in Norway, but that's a wooden skyscraper. So get used to that. That may be coming. Maybe not to a city near us, but somewhere out there. I mean, you may be visiting a city, right, that has this, so be prepared. Ordinary construction down there, kind of like we saw about in the Baltimore video. All right. We have these in town, obviously. Big churches. What kind of issues do churches, those old churches, cause?
Conflagration starter, large open spaces, heavy timber.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of times they do have some stuff maybe where they had a construction change inside that we don't know about. And plus they're probably dated back so far that they don't have what?
Yeah,
No sprinklers or anything, right? So those are fireman killers, those fires right there. So we have to be on our game, right? We can't treat those like we would a 2-story, 1,500-foot square house. I see these little homes where they're taking like little Connex boxes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I don't think I've seen anyone around here, but I've seen them on TV on shows, right? So
They're big out west. But
yeah, Haven't seen anything around here yet, but just be aware, and how are we aware of what's going on in our district?
Getting out, driving around.
It's by getting out and driving around, right? You know, we can do lots of things by getting out and driving around, you know, driving practice, street practice, address, building familiarization, all right? That costs a lot of things, just by getting out and driving around.
Hydrants.
What's that?
Hydrants.
Hydrants, yep, hydrants. So what do you guys think? You think flashover is predictable?
So what are you looking for flashover?
Heavy black smoke,
It's like that smoke right there.
limited fuel load, vent limited.
Vent limited, heavy black turbulent smoke, right, that's pushing out, that's high pressure, all right, going from high pressure to low pressure, all right? Like Cap said, vent limited. What do we know about the neutral plane? What is the neutral plane? We're getting ahead a little bit, but
That's where the
I like
exchange is taking place between cool air and heat air.
Yep.
Hot air exit.
a bidirectional flow path, right? So the neutral plane is where you got the exhaust versus the inlet, right? So the exhaust is pushing out the hot air and the smoke, and underneath it, it's bringing in that cool fresh air right towards the fire. And as that neutral plane gets lower and lower and lower to the ground, that's when flashover is imminent, all right? So how do we stop that from happening?
Cooling the atmosphere.
Cool it, put water on it, yep. Lots of water. A little bit of basic fire here, all right, Tetra gun. You remove any one of those four, right, the fire goes out. All right, most of the time we're doing it by taking away the heat. And now we're also doing it by removing oxygen, right, by shutting the doors. Okay. And if you don't think it works, look online. Anybody ever seen the Close Before You Doze program? I see some of those pictures, I'm just amazed at how much damage goes on in a house, but then they go to a bedroom that had a door closed, and it's totally tenable, right? So what should that tell us as firefighters when we get there on scene?
Close doors.
Close the doors, but you know, you may have survivable space somewhere, even if you do see a lot of fire when you first roll up. You might have some survivable space, so don't just
So
ride it
how are you
off.
gonna find the survivable space? Where's the tenable spaces at?
Yeah.
You do 360.
You gotta do a
360.
360, you gotta look at everything and just not walk around it, but look at it and say, okay, this looks like this could be a tenable space. And then we're gonna do what at that point? What maneuver are you gonna do?
VIS.
DEIS.
Yep, could do the VIS.
Don't go through the front door, but we'll go through this window.
And make sure that when you do make your entry, you isolate yourself, right? I think there's a video on here a little bit later on that shows a little bit about that, isolating the door, so, and what it does with a thermal imager camera. So 360's gotta be done, guys. I mean, anybody remember the Coal Rain Fire? That's where the 360 came from, all right? I teach this class with a guy who was one of the assistant chiefs on Coal Rain when that happened. And he said, Captain Broxton knew her shit. She just screwed up. And unfortunately, it was a big one, all right? Who doesn't know about Coal Rain?
Is that the basement access?
Basement, yeah, showed up at,
Walkout basement?
it was like at 6 o'clock in the morning. It came in as just a regular fire alarm, kind of complacent, right? Didn't really have their PPE on. They missed a turn, I believe, so they were a little bit late getting there. Dispatch was all kind of jacked up a little bit. Does that sound familiar? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's home, right? So, arrive on scene, had a little bit of smoke showing, knew it was a basement fire, didn't do a 360.
It's gonna be difficult to do a 360 on that one, because it was like on a slope.
Yeah.
And they probably said, it's okay.
And it was quite a ways back the lane.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe 800 feet, I think, something like that, back a long lane, so.
Yeah.
But still didn't do 360, and then ended up falling through the floor into the basement when they could have just redirected their hose line to the Charlie side and went in against the walkout.
Right, is.
Is that one where the owner of the house like came out and just kind of pointed through the
I
front
think so,
door?
that's the very
Yeah.
first one I did on that
So they
Sunday
kind
morning.
of didn't,
Which
the
owner-
owner never talked about the.
No.
The owner never said about the walkout basement.
But owners don't know. Owners, you
Yeah.
can't rely on their information. It's a little bit, but you got to do your own size of your own assessment of the situation.
And they were actually making a push, and I think they got separated, came up, went the
Yeah.
wrong direction, and ended up going directly over top of the fire, and that's when,
Yeah.
they collapsed into the basement. A little bit of example of turbulent smoke. There was a better video I thought in the last program. This shows you a little bit. You can see it looks like there's a fire up in the second story window. What kind of roof's that on the back? Shed roof, all right. I think this is a training fire. It looks like maybe from Columbus. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, I'm not. Well, watch when they play the video because it'll play the video. But they're, I mean. Not a whole lot coming out of there, is there? Yeah, I'm with you, Rich. I think it's a training video, more or less, but.
If not, they should train.
What's that?
I said if not, they should train with it.
This is the video I was talking about. One of the videos from this. I gotta play it over here because it's not playing very well on the computer. So basically what you have over here is just regular time over here, just regular video, and then over here it's through a thermal imaging camera. And you'll be able to see the color palettes when they light the room on fire. Maybe it's going slow. There we go. Well, that's not one to play on there, is it? I think this is the one I had a problem, Tyler, with playing that I gotta.
It's fine.
That I gotta exit out of it. It doesn't like it.